Well, to take a closer look at all the issues facing the migrants with the asylum and the policy analyst Susan Fratzke. Her focus is on Europe at the Migration Policy Institute. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. So when looking at all of this, I can't help but think about the difference between a migrant and a refugee and how blurred the line has become here, because refugees under international law are supposed to be allowed asylum. How do you deal with this?
It's a tough question. I think one that's underlying all of the problems that we've seen both with the asylum situation in Europe as well as here in the US. While you said there's a clear distinction in international law, when you look at the reasons why people flee their countries, it's not always that simple. Someone may leave because of a war that causes them to face persecution as well as economic hardship. We've really, I think, expanded the definitions under international law for who's able to claim protection. But in practice, it's really a tricky issue for asylum authorities as they try to sort these things out.
So many of these that were denied in Italy, for instance, so many of the people, I mean, could they be called refugees as opposed to migrants? Would that have changed the situation?
Well, in practice, what we've seen is that many of the people who are arriving in Italy ultimately won't qualify for refugee status because many of them are coming from countries that are facing more economic hardship than criteria that really fall within the refugee definition. So when you look at situations, for example, in Syria where people are fleeing, it's much more likely that they'll qualify for refugee protection, whereas people who are coming from Pakistan or from Nigeria, which are among the nationalities that were on this ship, are unlikely to qualify for refugee protection.
What's the next step in all of this? How do we handle this?
Well, I wish I knew the simple answer. There is not a simple answer. The people who are arriving in Spain now will have an opportunity to apply for asylum once they get there, and France has actually offered to take some of them in. Those who aren't able to qualify for asylum will face return to their countries of origin, and I think the EU will continue to face a very challenging political situation in terms of how to manage future arrivals.
So, in our report there were several pregnant women, lots of minors, people from various countries aboard. Why were they denied?
Well, this really comes back to the internal political situation in Italy as well as the political situation in Europe right now. Italy has been the main entry point for arrivals across the Mediterranean for the last couple of years. They received 180 people last year, and the Italian government, the new Italian government just elected back in March, has said that they don't want to face the situation alone anymore. And this was really a political statement from the new interior minister to the European Union that they won't continue to play by the old rules.
And such a dividing issue in the EU.
It is. It really is. It's really put the Eastern European governments against the governments in Northern Europe and against those who are along the southern frontier in the Mediterranean.
So what is going to happen tomorrow with the dock of this ship?
Well, the people who are arriving will be able to apply for asylum. If they don't receive asylum, then they'll be returned. Some of them will go to France. They'll receive, when they do arrive, they'll receive medical care and begin to go through the arrival procedures.
What is it like for the plight of these people coming over here, just the journey itself?
Well, the people who are arriving, as you said, there are several pregnant women on the ship. There are people who have received chemical burns because of where they were sitting. When the gasoline mixes with seawater on these ships, oftentimes chemical burns result. The people who were on this ship in particular had to wait several days at sea after Italy said that they weren't able to land and really faced quite crowded conditions, both on the boat coming out to the Aquarius, the ship they were on with the smugglers, as well as on the Aquarius itself. It's really a dangerous journey, and they face additional hardships crossing in Libya as well at the hands of smugglers and the risk of trafficking and abuse.
Alrighty. Well, Susan Fratzke, thank you so much for coming in with the Migration Policy Institute on this very important issue. We appreciate it.
Thank you.